What's that word you use?
Spoilers.
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 Spoilers. Spoilers. Spoilers.
I like that word.
I thought you might.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of A Brief History. And today we'll be kicking off the first in my series looking at the War Master. Or more to the point, War Masters. Because as some of you may or may not know, there have in fact been two War Master incarnations. The one that most people will be familiar with is Derek Jacobi's YANA incarnation, who has done several series with Big Finish as the War Master. However, several of Doctor Who comics chronicle an alliance between the War Doctor and the Master's previous incarnation during the Time War. So this video will be looking into the first incarnation of the War Master. Now, to speak of the Master's involvement within the Time War, we actually have to backtrack a little bit to Alex McQueen's Master. As revealed in the Dark Eyes 2 anthology story Eyes of the Master makes note that having been rescued from his body-hopping predicament by the Time Lords, he believes they are preparing him for something.
Reluctant as I am to have anything to do with them, I'm quite prepared to hand you over to the Time Lords.
Hand me over? Who do you think I'm working for, Doctor?
What? Even they wouldn't be so
They
stupid.
plucked me from my predicament and made an offer I couldn't refuse. A new lease of life, carte blanche. I think I'm being brought back into the fold, softened up for something, but no, I know their game. I play it better than any of them.
The events of this rescue are later chronicled in the Ravenous 4 story, Day of the Master.
We're really doing this? I mean, doesn't it cheat time? Gallifrey won't be happy.
We're doing it with their approval. Where I come from, paradoxes would occur almost daily, if we had recognizable days anymore.
We can't tell them who we are.
We'll say we're CIA.
When you say that, it sounds weird.
Well, we basically are. We're working for them at least.
Which is also backed up by the Gallifrey Time War story, Devil You Know.
War has changed us all, Romana. For better and worse.
And the Master?
I fear the worst.
I see.
Romana, please. He is not to be trusted. The Time War has given him purpose.
You gave him purpose, Narvin. You and the CIA. For precisely this kind of eventuality.
Things were different then. He was different.
And the Master's own admission in Sound of the Drums.
The Time Lords only resurrected me because they knew I'd be the perfect warrior for a time war.
That does indeed concur that the Time Lords, along with some help from the Master's other selves, did indeed rescue and resurrect him for the Time War. Now, whilst it is not explicitly confirmed anywhere, some sources do hint that Alex McQueen's incarnation did play some part in early Time War events. With the Big Finish story The Heavenly Paradigm mentioning that the Master fought in a battle against the Daleks over the planet Ketol, helping secure one of the Time Lords' first victories in the war, although it was later revealed that due to his interference in the aforementioned story, this history was changed so that the Daleks won the battle.
On screen, the planet Ketol, site of one of the first successful Time Lord campaigns of the Time War. The Daleks wished to mine it for weapons-grade rocks, an asset that would put them at a considerable advantage.
Yeah, but they didn't get it. God!
They did now.
I was there. The ship's all burning.
And the story, Lords and Masters, in the MISSY Chronicles, reveals that during the siege of the Chronotide, the General found the Master begging for mercy as a being known as the Multiform closed in on him. At some point after this, however, the Master regenerated into his next body, into the form of a young boy, becoming the first War Master. This new incarnation made a deal with the War Doctor to become allies, promising to leave their old antagonistic ways behind them, although some rivalry and distrust remained. One such adventure took them to the planet Vistrax, which was located on the front lines of the Dalek advance through a Gallifrey planet birth nursery. There they found the words "Exterminate," the motto of a Dalek sect known as the Volitix Cabal, was scrawled on a wall, and after convincing the War Doctor he wasn't responsible, the Master helped the War Doctor in destroying the planet. In actual fact, the War Doctor transported that particular part of Vistrax to another part of the universe, and in doing so wiped out 3 Dalek assault battalions. They later found themselves, along with the War Doctor's companion the Squire, on the planet Golgunth, having arrived there to kill the Psylors, a race of functionally omnipotent interdimensional nomads who fed on psychic energy and sensations. And whilst it is implied the Time Lords had planned to recruit them themselves, the Daleks recruited them first, offering them a sensation they had never experienced: committing genocide. On the planet, they also encountered Alex Oberfune, a companion of the 11th Doctor who had travelled back into the Time War, bypassing the time lock using the Master's TARDIS. This was possible due to this particular version of the Master's TARDIS, which seemed to be his original one, but from his own post-Time War future, had been operated on by his future self sometime prior to the end of the Time War. More specifically, he had operated on his TARDIS's brain, which created a chronal tumour attached to the console, which, whilst obviously not decidedly healthy for a TARDIS, gave it the ability to bypass the time lock. The War Doctor intended to use an object known as the Silent Songbox, an ordinary Gallifreyan children's toy weaponised with Khan technology, to banish the Psylors back to their own dimension. Before he was able to do so, however, they were attacked by a Psyclaw, and using a device to summon a fleet of Gallifreyan attack ships to attack it, albeit in futility, the Master slipped away in the confusion and into his own future TARDIS to escape. However, in doing so, he created a paradox. By escaping in his own future TARDIS, he was erasing the timeline, which as part of the war was time-locked, in which his future self would create the chronal tumour, meaning his post-Time War TARDIS couldn't have been brought back into the Time War for him to escape it. At the same time, Alice activated the Silent Songbox, which reacted with the paradox created by the Master, initiating a complete chronal meltdown, a paradox of its own, collapsing all timelines into each other, and through a ripple effect, it also turned the chronal tumour in the Master's TARDIS into a temporal bomb. The War Doctor, with some helpful intervention from the 11th Doctor crossing the collapsing timelines, was able to destroy the Silent Songbox and prevent the chronal meltdown. The Master also managed to deactivate the chronal tumour to prevent it from becoming a bomb, but it was too late to reverse the initial paradox he created, and the subsequent energies released by it inside the Master's TARDIS proved fatal for him, and he regenerated into his next body, the second War Master. Due to the events and the effects of the paradox, however, the War Doctor forgot these events and his alliance with the Master, as eventually did Alice, and whilst it is not directly mentioned, it is hinted the Master also forgot these events, possibly including his own regeneration. Exactly what happened to the Master's TARDIS following these events is also unknown, but as it is seen in the comics burning up due to the damage caused by the paradox energies, it can be assumed it was destroyed. This also tallies up with Big Finish's MISSY series story The Broken Clock, in which the Master is said to have gained access to an experimental TARDIS during the Time War, which later escaped from him.
I was a vehicle for a very old race. A race that fought in the Time War. I'm a TARDIS, a Mark 212 travel machine. I was a new kind of time machine with defense systems beyond the dreams of any civilization. I was so sophisticated I achieved sentience. Then I went mad. The very moment I realized that the one who piloted me was a psychopath. I knew when the war was over he would go back to killing. I couldn't cope with that. I ran away to find a new pilot to make me sane again.
Which in turn tallies up with the previously mentioned Big Finish stories Day of the Master and the Heavenly Paradigm, which suggests he had gained access to another, more normal TARDIS in his second war incarnation before sending it away prior to him becoming human.
Automatic dematerialization in 10 seconds. Go on then. Off you go. No going back now.
Now, it's worth saying at this point that this series of events does throw up some continuity errors, re the paradox of the Master's TARDIS being destroyed, especially if it was his original TARDIS. But it's worth remembering this does all take place within the Time War, where paradoxes are a regular occurrence, as stated by the War Master in Day of the Master. And given how the second War Master was known to have occasionally worked with the Celestial Intervention Agency, and their involvement in giving him a new lease of life in preparation for the Time War, it stands to reason that perhaps the CIA did some damage control to ensure the Master's existence and his timelines remained intact, albeit slightly changed. The comics also reveal that the Master was able to retroactively write out most of his involvement in the Time War. So along with the Doctor and possibly even the Master himself forgetting this alliance, this also possibly explains why so little is known about the Master's first war incarnation. But, for the present time at least, that is all we know about the first War Master. Now for part 2, I'm not going to do all of the second War Master's adventures in one video, simply because as his Big Finish series is still ongoing and he's popped up in several others, there is plenty to cover over the course of several videos. And for those interested in reading these comics themselves, they can be found in volumes 4, 5 and 6 of the 11th Doctor Year 2 collected editions by Titans Comics. But that brings to a close A Brief History. As always, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Like, favourite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. And be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. I'm doing my very first figure animation and you can get involved. There's exclusive content and rewards for those who do so, and funding my Patreon in any way gets your name at the end of my videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.